If you have ever wanted to start a side hustle or earn extra income from the comfort of your home without touching merchandise, managing inventory, or shelling out thousands of dollars to get started, then this video is for you. So in just one weekend, I actually launched my own merch store with less than $50 using a business model that is continuing to grow fast. It's called print on demand. Print on demand is a method of e-commerce that basically means your products, whether that's t-shirts, mugs, hats, and so many other items, they're only made after someone purchases them. So basically, you can start a store to sell physical items without having to manage the printing, the inventory, or the shipping, because there's a company, a print on demand company, that helps you do those parts of the business. Now, let me be real with you. I tend to get skeptical when it comes to services like these because I'm always like, if it's so easy, what's the catch? But after a few years of running a service-based digital business and teaching financial education on the internet, I decided that I wanted something physical. I simply wanted some merch for my brand as well. So when I went through the process, I realized it was so much easier than I thought. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through how I created my merch store step by step, specifically using Printful. Printful is a print-on-demand service and the sponsor of this video, so shout out to them. And they are the service that I use for my own merch store. This video is perfect if you are a beginner to print on demand, if you're curious about what it takes to start a brand, a side hustle, or an online store from the comfort of your home, or if you simply want to know how I made my merch. For those new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lissa. I'm a personal finance expert and a certified financial planner. I teach all things personal finance on this channel, and I want more of you building wealth and shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundant one. An abundant one. If that sounds good to you, then don't forget to subscribe. So first, what is print on demand? I alluded to it earlier, but print on demand is a business model where products are printed and orders are fulfilled only after a sale is made. So after a customer places an order, the product is printed, packaged, and then shipped to them. I like this business model because I feel like it reduces costs, it reduces waste, and there's less guesswork. So for example, I remember when I first graduated from college, I had a couple of different friends trying to start streetwear brands. They had cool designs in mind and they wanted to try to build their brand. This was before print on demand was a thing, or it definitely wasn't as big as it is today. So they would have to buy like 100 t-shirts up front because there was a minimum order. And then they would have to just hope that people would buy them later and that they'd make a profit. So with print on demand, you don't have to do that. You don't have to buy all those items and store them in your house or warehouse or even create any space for any boxes. In particular, if you happen to be doing print on demand for apparel, like clothing, a big upside is that you don't have to guess what sizes you need and have wasted inventory if you don't sell those sizes. So altogether, print on demand essentially means there is a lower financial risk to start a brand or a store or your business. In the past, you'd have to put more money up front to purchase product before you could sell it. Now the costs are relatively low. What kind of things can you sell with print on demand? Well, it depends because there are a lot of different print on demand servicers. For Printful in particular, which is the one that I use, they have, hats, clothes, things like that, but they also have glassware, they have towels, they have tote bags. They actually have way more than that, sweatpants, swimwear, etc. So it is a great business model where what you are selling is the brand, the design, the words, the thing you print on the item. If you're looking to design your brand new patented sports bra or a new style of hat, then this is not what this is for, but this is a great business model that works for merchandise. Even books are now printed on demand if you want to write a book and self-publish. It works great for art prints. If you're a photographer, if you do art in any way, having that art printed on items means you're selling the items because people want the art part of it. And it's less about the manufacturing of the design of the actual object. You still want quality with the items you're selling, but we'll talk about that in a bit. I just think print on demand is a cool route to go if you're interested in selling physical items, because I think that it has helped democratize product creation. It means that more individuals, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small businesses can actually sell ideas and sell their brand at competitive prices. Before, like I said, you had to buy a lot of inventory to benefit from lower wholesale prices, and then you make that back up later when you sell the item later. But what if you don't have a ton of money to get started? That's where this kind of business model can come into play. Now, are there any downsides to print on demand? Like with anything, of course, there are pros and cons to print on demand. In my opinion, though, I think that the downsides are pretty manageable, especially if this is your first time launching a side hustle or a business, like if this is your first attempt at creating a second source of income. The biggest downside, or I would actually call it the biggest challenge, in my opinion, with print on demand, is marketing. Right? You can create the most amazing designs, choose the coolest products to put those designs on, but if no one sees them and if they're not moved to purchase, your items are not going to sell. So you're going to have to get comfortable promoting your store and your products. And for a lot of people, that's the part that might not grow overnight. But in my opinion, while that's a challenge, that's also like business 101. There's always the chance that you can create something really cool, you market it well, and it pops off overnight, and it's an overnight success. But in business, there's also the risk that no one knows about you, or they know about you, but they're not moved to purchase. But that's what you get with business in general. In many ways, a print-on-demand store could take a bit of upfront time and energy, but as I'm going to show you, it's actually very low cost to start. And then on top of that, it doesn't require a ton of maintenance outside of marketing it once you have it all set up. In terms of other downsides, cons to print on demand, I feel like these are more minor, but I'm going to mention them anyway, just so you know. Shipping time. So shipping time is another consideration. Print on demand isn't the same as Amazon Prime, where you can order something right now and get it in like 10 minutes. I'm over exaggerating, but a lot of times you can get something overnight or even same day. But like I mentioned earlier, items aren't made and printed until they're ordered. So that does add a little bit of time for the fulfillment of that order. But I will say, in my experience so far with using Printful, their delivery times are pretty fast. I live in Los Angeles, and so far every item that I've ordered, because I've ordered some samples, we'll get to that, everything has pretty much arrived within a week, give or take a couple of days. Margins. Margins are another thing to think about, which could potentially be a downside. This is how much you actually profit from your sales. Your margins can potentially be smaller compared to bulk ordering, that example I gave you earlier where you buy 100 t-shirts all at once. But the upside here is that you're not paying for storage or inventory that might potentially go to waste. So I think for beginners, it's a great trade-off, and you can figure out your pricing and your margins later. So now that you have a little bit of the lay of the land when it comes to print on demand, I did not mean to rhyme that. Let me walk you through the steps that I took to create my merch store for Wealth for Women of Color. But just want to note, these are the same steps that you would take if you are building a brand or an online store from scratch. I have an existing brand and presence online, so I'm just kind of adding merch to the brand where I sell other things, right? I sell an e-course, I sell services. But if you're starting completely from scratch, you would do the same steps I'm about to go through. So step number 1, decide what you want to sell. I think you can approach this in one of two ways. You can start with a product idea and then find a print-on-demand service that offers it. So for example, I want to write a book. Let me find a print-on-demand service that prints books. Maybe you know you want to sell coffee mugs that have little puns on them. So you can go ahead and find a print-on-demand store that supplies mugs. The other way you can do it is to find a print-on-demand service like Printful, which is the one that I found, and then browse their products. And if you like what you see, pick the products that inspire you and go from there. So I went with the second option. I looked at Printful's catalog and I landed on 2 products that I wanted to start and try out. A dad hat and a cropped hoodie. This is actually a hoodie. Some other items I considered and I might still add later are tote bags and maybe some kind of mug or glassware, but I wanted to start very simple. If you're unsure what to sell altogether, here are some other things you can think about which also are a great place to start. You can think about demographics. What age is your ideal customer? Where are they located? What gender are you going to target? What jobs do they have? Think about who you want to sell to. And on that note, also think about the psychographic of your ideal customer. This is, what does that person value? What are they interested in? What is their lifestyle? For example, if I say millennial moms who love Beyonce, you can think of a specific person that is, and you can start catering what you sell to that kind of customer. Or if I say career-minded college grads in the tech industry, you also start to picture a very specific kind of person and then think about what kind of product could I sell this group of people. Or here's an example, which I'll come back to a couple times in this video. Women in their late 30s who just started playing tennis as a recreational hobby. So think about demographics, think about psychographics. And also another place to start if you don't know what to sell is maybe think about your own personal taste. What do you wish existed? Maybe it's a type of t-shirt with certain slogans on them, or shorts because you live in a hot place but you wish there were more stylish shorts. Are there any sweatpants that you wish had a specific word on them, on the backside or on the side of the leg? Think about what you would actually purchase. So coming back to that tennis example, I recently have gotten back into tennis. I played back in high school and I've been playing more recently. I also have a few friends who are picking up the sport for the first time and they are in their late 30s. Now, when I play tennis, I personally like to wear visors as opposed to like full-on hats because I like my head to be able to breathe. But I haven't actually really seen any specific visors that look cool that are made for women who play tennis recreationally. So I could totally see a whole line of visors with cute sayings or cute designs that are targeted at women who are playing tennis for the first time, but play casually for fun. So everything I'm talking about now, this applies to more than just creating a print-on-demand store. All of these things, if you were to create any kind of side hustle or any kind of business, you want to think through these things. Who am I trying to serve? Demographics, psychographics, and something I haven't mentioned yet is brand story. I'm kind of getting on a tangent here, but this is important. Think about your brand story. What is inspiring this brand or business or product line that you are going to create? Who are you trying to empower? Or what message are you hoping to spread? For my tennis visor example, maybe that's what it is. It's a line of visors for women picking up tennis for the first time in their 30s and 40s. And that is a story about confidence, about playfulness, about youth, and about being open to learning something new. I would call that brand Let's Rally, which is a tennis term. But it's also a double entendre. It encourages people to learn something new in their adulthood. So if you have a brand story, it can help you decide what you're gonna sell. And of course, the more of a why you have behind your brand or business, the more it's gonna resonate with consumers on an emotional level. And that ultimately leads to more connection, which leads to more sales. Step number 2, brainstorm your designs. Now you have a product in mind. You know what you wanna sell. You want to think about what your first designs are going to look like. What will they say? What message would your audience proudly wear or drink from or carry with them? Is it something that would be additive to a customer's life? Would it say something about their identity? So here's my example. For my own merch store, I already knew that I wanted to create a line of abundance merchandise. So my entire brand, Wealth for Women of Color, centers around personal finance education and helping people, especially women of color, shift from a scarcity mindset to a more abundant mindset. So my first design idea was a dad hat that says fluent in abundance. And that's simply because I teach people personal finance and improving their money mindset. And so for those of you who are regular viewers who support me and my channel, I think you can identify with the fact that you are fluent in abundance, or you are building up to that, right? As if abundance is a language and we are learning how to speak it. So this phrase, fluent in abundance, means a lot to me, and it's about knowing your net worth. It's about owning your financial journey, and it's just speaking in the language of what's possible in your financial future. Now, the second design idea I had was a cropped hoodie, this one that I'm wearing, that says, I attract abundance. Now, if you look at it, you'll realize that it says, I attract abundance, but it's printed upside down. So the point of this was that the person wearing it, me, can look down and read it. And it is an affirmation that I can wear. My inspiration for this upside down sentence on the sweatshirt is this sweatshirt that I had in high school. So this is back like 2003, 2004. I couldn't find it for this video, but it is a sweatshirt from when I was part of the physics club. So there was like Albert Einstein was on it, and next to him were all these formulas, all these physics scientific formulas that our teacher allowed us to use if we wore the sweatshirt during the days we had tests. So the formulas were written upside down on the sweatshirt, but if you look down at the sweatshirt, you could read all the formulas. So I always thought that was cool, and I kept that sweatshirt. I still have it somewhere in my closet, and that inspired me wanting to create this abundance hoodie where the message on it is not necessarily for other people, but it is for me. If I look down, it says, I attract abundance. So for you, this is the fun part. This is when you decide what your brand or your store or your products are actually going to say. If you are stuck when it comes to thinking of a design for your first product, don't forget to go back to what I mentioned earlier, which is your brand story. Your brand story can help guide your style and the designs that you create. And it also helps you start thinking about how you're going to market to that target demographic or psychographic. If you need more help brainstorming, you can also try searching on Pinterest and making a mood board. You can ask ChatGPT for words or phrases. I want to say that's how I came up with fluent in abundance. I couldn't really describe what I wanted, so I typed a whole bunch of prompts into ChatGPT saying, I want abundance to be in the sentence. I don't want it to be more than a couple of words, and I want it to represent what it means to feel abundance and to understand it and to keep learning about it. And I think one of the suggestions that ChatGPT told me was the word fluent. You can also browse Etsy if you want inspiration on what other people are doing in their stores. And to be clear, I actually don't think you should copy or steal other people's ideas, but use them as inspiration. If you see something on there that someone did and you think it's cool, but you know how to make it better, maybe that's the kind of design you start with. In my example with the tennis visors, this could be as simple as finding a cute font and coming up with tennis puns and phrases like, it's all love, or let's rally, or in my tennis era. By the way, I have no plans to create this store for tennis visors, so if you want to take it and do it. Drop the link in the comments and I will purchase something, okay? As long as it's reasonably priced. But I just want to give you examples here. So step 3, now it's time to create your design. Once you have an idea of what you want to design, it's time to start designing. So there are tools you can use like Canva, which are very easy for beginners, and there is a free tier, a free version. Or you can use more advanced software like Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator. I actually started in Canva out of habit because I use it for a lot of things. But then I realized that Printful actually had templates that I could use. And so I decided to use the Adobe Photoshop template that it had because I also have Photoshop. So I suggest looking at their specs and downloading their templates so that you can design with the proper sizing in mind. So to do this in Printful, when I found those 2 items that I wanted to try designing, the dad hat and the cropped hoodie, I clicked on the button that said Start Designing. That opened up the product editor. If you click on pricing and file guidelines, you're going to find a lot of helpful information about the product itself, and there are also downloadable templates that help guide you when you create your design. Now, if you are like, okay, but I am not a designer, I've downloaded those templates, but I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how to make sure that I create the right specs. There are other options that you can use, like finding free graphics and stock photos that you might be able to use in your designs. For example, there are websites like Unsplash, Rawpixel, and Pexels. A lot of times they do allow you to use images for commercial use, meaning you can use them to sell things. But just make sure you double check the licenses to make sure that they are royalty free for commercial use and that they don't require you to do anything else to the image. A lot of times they require you to make modifications to an image before you can print it on an item. For example, taking an image and mixing it with text or mixing it with another image. All I'm saying is the internet makes everything so easy these days. Even if you're not a designer, there are so many ways you can go about creating your design. And if you really want to be hands-off about designing, you can find a designer on somewhere like Fiverr or Upwork and describe to them what you want and deliver what you need according to the specs that you need. Now, as you can see with my abundance line and also my made-up example with the tennis visors, you can also do text-based designs and get creative in that way. Step 4, add your designs to your products. Once your files are ready, according to the file specs, you can upload them to Printful and preview them using the Mockup tool. You can adjust the size, the placement, and the colors, and you can see how your item would look like in a real-life setting. Make sure that you can read everything if you have text, make sure it's centered properly. It has all the tools to help you do that. And interestingly, up until this point, you may have realized that we haven't spent a dime yet. But it is at this step where I actually suggest using some of your own money to purchase a sample product or two. From a business standpoint, I think it's good practice to know the quality of what you're actually selling to someone before you sell it. So that's why I purchased these 2 dad hats, because I knew I liked this color, the maroon, but I wasn't sure if you'd be able to read the text on the pink hat. Now, even though you can read the text on the pink hat, I actually don't know how much I love this pink color. I think I'll still sell it. Maybe it'll grow on me, but I just like that I was able to see what the quality was like for this hat and the hoodie. And I think the quality of Printful's products are great. I've obviously only have experience with 2 different products so far, but they feel like things that I've spent a lot on, like concert merchandise that I've gotten when I've gone to concerts and paid like $60 for a hat. It feels like that kind of quality. I actually liked the quality of Printful's products so much that I actually used Printful for personal use as well. Me and my husband ended up making these thank you t-shirts after our wedding because we wanted to thank our bridal party and a few other key family members who made our wedding weekend so special. So I had this idea. I wanted to make a t-shirt that looked like a festival t-shirt, like we were going on tour. And I created it in Printful and then bought a bunch of items to give to our friends and family. Even though this is a sponsored video, shout out to Printful, I'm being genuine when I say that I've had a great experience with them so far. Once you have uploaded your designs, gotten them to look how you want, and maybe hopefully ordered a few samples, if you're satisfied with the quality of your products, it's now time to set up your store. Low-key, you could start this part while you're waiting for the products to come in, but I'm doing it in this order to make sure first that you like the quality before you spend any more money. Step 5, set up your store. Printful specifically integrates with a number of different platforms where you can host your store, such as Etsy and Shopify. Now, I'm not going to go into the pros and cons of each. I'll just share that in my situation, I used Shopify because I already had a website and I'm familiar with Shopify and I wanted to keep everything all in one place. So Shopify is an e-commerce platform that lets you manage products and payments and orders all in one place. If you don't have a website yet, you can build one from scratch on Shopify. Now, I will quickly touch on Etsy. If you want to reach buyers who are already browsing for specific and unique items, for example, personalized gifts, or I used Etsy a lot actually for wedding related stuff, that is another route you can go. It just depends on what you're looking for. Do you want your own standalone brand or do you want to be an Etsy shop? Printful actually shows you side by side the differences between the different platforms. As a heads up, Shopify costs about $39 a month to get started, although it can vary. And if you have your own store, you're probably going to want a custom domain name, so whatever .com or .store. And depending on the name, it's typically around $10 to $15 a year. So while doing it this way can require a little bit of money for your operations of setting up your store, I want to emphasize to you that these are considered low startup costs when it comes to business. Traditional retail models or inventory models, like I told you at the beginning about the streetwear brands, require more upfront money. But starting an online store, whether it's a side hustle of yours or you want to start building a brand for the long term, this is pretty low cost. Quick side note for those of you who aren't familiar with my channel, I'm always talking about building wealth, and when it comes to building another source of income, let's say you have one source of income, you're ready to start your next one. It typically takes some combination of time, energy, and money, right? If you have no time and energy, but you had a ton of money, you could invest in something and then be hands off and then make more money from your money. Setting up a print-on-demand store is relatively low time, low energy, and low money compared to other business models. So I just want to normalize this, that it is okay to put money into a business or a side hustle, because the goal is that you get a return in the long run. When it comes to nominal fees like setting up a domain name and a website, these are part of your operations. These are part of the investment that you're putting into this business or side hustle or brand that you are going to get a return on later. Step number 6, time to launch and promote. Once your store is live, you can tell people about it, right? Share it on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, email, wherever you have access to people. Now, if you don't have an existing platform or audience, that's okay too. There are other ways to promote your store. Let's talk about some free ways to promote your store to begin with. Number 1, if your product is a wearable or something you can use outside of the house, like a tote bag or drinkware or like my merch, just use it everywhere you go. People are bound to ask about it if it catches their eye, if it looks cool, if it looks interesting, and word of mouth actually goes a long way. Number 2, now if you are ready to play the long game and you want to build your brand's presence online, make content. Yes, there's a lot of content out there, but I still think there are a lot of eyeballs out there for the taking. And the best part is, yes, it could take some time and energy to market your brand or store, but it's relatively low cost. At least at the beginning, you can just give it a go, not spend a lot of money, and try to put out content. Think about blog posts, Instagram, TikTok. Just start posting, showcase your content, or even better, build the brand behind the product. So this could be reels or shorts about your brand story. It could be behind the scenes of your design process, or it can be strategically content that your target demographic and psychographic would enjoy. So for example, that visor line for casual tennis players in their 30s and 40s, if I wanted to promote that, I would start an Instagram, I would wear the visor, and I would film myself playing tennis with people, and I would make highlight reels of all the great hits, the great serves, and then I'd maybe do a close-up of the actual visor. It could take time to build an audience, but that kind of content would be interesting to people who enjoy watching tennis content. So those are some free ways that you can start promoting your brand or online store. If you want to accelerate the growth of your store, you can also invest more money into it. For example, a tried and true way is to use your network. This could mean spending a little more money to buy more products that you can use as promotional tools, and whether you have friends or family promote it for you, or influencers whose audience match your demographic. That's one way to get the word out, but it could cost money to buy product and to ship that product to the people who you want to help promote it. Another way you can invest money to drive traffic to your store, let's say you're tired of waiting for organic traffic because you know that's a long-term game, you can also explore paid ads. I simply think for a beginner who's starting a side hustle or a brand for the first time, there are more creative, free or low-cost ways you can come up with to promote your products and to promote your store. You don't need a big audience, you can just start with what you have. And remember, your first launch doesn't have to be perfect, right? You can evolve as you go. You're trying this business model and seeing how it works for you. So I hope this video was helpful and it sparked some ideas. Let me know in the comments what ideas you're thinking about, or if anybody wants to take my idea about the tennis visors, I can help you brainstorm. But I think Let's Rally would be a really cool store for tennis visors. And of course, if you want to check out my merch line, I will put the link in the description. Remember, wealthy people have multiple income streams, and a print-on-demand store is just one example of what your next income source could be. Until next time, peace out.